Yes, and campaign organizers scrapped plans to lay siege to the presidential office a second time, deciding instead to parade through the capital at the last minute.
At 4:30 in the afternoon, campaign leader Ying-jeou climbed aboard the open-top truck to lead the protesters on a second siege of the presidential office. The crowd of followers stayed close to Xu and his truck all afternoon on Zhongqiao West Road, but then the campaign management decided that instead of moving towards the presidential office and the president's official residence, they would set off towards Taipei's shopping district. After venturing along Zhongqiao East Road, they stopped for a rest, causing traffic to be held up until 7:30 p.m. They then returned to Taipei Main Station. Police were powerless to stop such a large number of marchers. I am responsible for all of this, said Xu. I will take full legal responsibility. The right to decide rests with the people. Those that want to stay overnight can choose to do so, as can those that want to leave. Our traffic police were unable to foresee and make arrangements for the limits placed on traffic, said Ma. This activity has caused traffic chaos. We hope that the campaign will return to Taipei Main Station. We also hope that the campaign organisers will consider the lives of the citizens of Taipei, he added. Police had earlier made the decision to close off Zhongqiao East Road to all traffic, but protesters continued to defy Ma's request until about 8 p.m, when they slowly began walking back towards Taipei Main Station.
Ying-jeou, leader of the anti-Chen campaign, called on protesters to gather at Taipei Main Station Tuesday, causing problems for travelers returning to the capital after the 5-day break. The thousands of protesters crowding into the station in search of a place to rest made access for ordinary passengers something of an ordeal.
Hordes of protesters in their trademark red took up every available spot to sit down in Taipei Main Station Tuesday afternoon. The crowds created problems for this one wheelchair user and a number of families traveling with young children in tow. We walked a long way and we can't find anywhere to sit down, said this father. This is a place for public transportation. Other passengers also have the right to use the station. Station employees marked out areas for the protesters with yellow tape, but the sheer number of people crowding into the station made it a futile exercise. The steps down to the platforms were also full of people, creating an additional obstacle for those looking to get onto the trains. Those traveling to Taipei after the 5-day break were confronted with a packed station hall as soon as they left the platform. There really are so many people, said this traveler. I'm afraid my children will get lost. The anti-Chen campaign's order to gather at Taipei's most crucial transportation hub during one of the year's peak travel periods left many travelers questioning the wisdom of the decision Tuesday. The heated political atmosphere in the run-up to the National Day celebration spilled over into violence as rival lawmakers traded blows in front of stunned onlookers during the ceremony. PFP Chairman James Song scuffled with security personnel before he stormed into the parade venue, calling for President Chen's resignation.
Moments after President Chen had taken to the stage to give his address, KMT legislator Li Qinghua, dressed in red, began shouting for Chen to step down. Looking on in bemusement, a number of the foreign dignitaries present took photos of the disturbance. The situation deteriorated shortly afterwards, however, as DPP lawmaker Lin Guoqing weighed in, attacking Li. Later on, outside the site, both blamed the other for the embarrassing scenes. Several of them surrounded us and started hitting us, said Li. We were just peacefully protesting. They kicked us, beat us with their fists and threw things. The DPP is a violent political party, so I'm going for a checkup for my injuries, then I'm going to sue them. I was the only one hitting people. They didn't do anything, Lin responded with sarcasm. It was me, Lin Guoqing, who was hitting them. Just sue Lin Guoqing. They didn't do anything. Meanwhile, People First Party Chairman James Song attempted to lead a group of opposition lawmakers in storming Chongqing South Road, where the National Day Parade was to take place, to protest directly in front of all of those present. Security personnel moved quickly to surround them, however. Song's red jacket was almost torn off in the ensuing confrontation. When security attempted to escort Song and co from the scene, another scuffle broke out. Song finally managed to avoid security personnel to make it into the parade site, where he and his supporters proceeded to call for Chen to step down.
President Chen's speech at the National Day ceremony was interrupted by opposition lawmakers' shouts for him to step down. While trying to battle on with his address, the president questioned whether a National Day ceremony should be held at all in the future, before beginning some chanting of his own.
The president received a warm welcome as he appeared Tuesday, but as soon as he began his speech, his opponents made themselves heard. Although the stage was walled off on both sides, the shouting from opposition legislators was loud enough to startle the guests behind Chen. We can have different opinions, but we cannot break our unity, said Chen. National identity can be split, but not the country itself. Clearly able to hear his opponents, Chen became more emotional as his speech progressed. With so many different opinions being heard at this type of National Day celebration, if people feel so bad about participating, then I would suggest that an immediate review be held as to whether the ceremony should be held next year, said Chen. He then attempted to whip up some positive national sentiments. It was a difficult day for Chen as his opponents did their best to disrupt what is normally supposed to be a grand display of national unity.
Ahead of the National Day ceremony, anti-Chen campaign protesters occupied a road leading to the parade venue and attempted to prevent military police from taking part in the ceremony. Despite provocation from the protesters, police that attended the scene took a soft line to deal with them after the military police had left the scene.
Just after 8 a.m., a group of red-clad anti-Chen campaigners gathered at the intersection of Chongqing South Road and Xianyang Street in an attempt to stop military police on motorbikes from entering the restricted area set aside for the National Day celebration. One man stood in the middle of the road, giving the thumb down gesture for almost a minute before being moved aside by police. The protesters continued to take out their grievances against the president on the passing military police. One officer's bike had to be pushed after the man riding it was attacked. Campaign organisers had insisted that the protest would be peaceful. Despite the gathering being illegal, police waited until the motorcade had left before taking action. You and the people accompanying you are taking part in a protest march for which no application has been made, said the chief of the Jiangor Police Precinct, Zhong Jiangor. I am giving you a first warning as required by law, but the police opted for a softer approach a few minutes later rather than issuing a second warning. We don't want to see this type of thing happen again. We want peace, not violence, said Zhong. Thank you for your cooperation. Despite the protesters' lack of permission for the gathering, officers decided a gentle approach was the best way to preserve the peace in the face of provocation.
Premier Su Jin-chang and other government leaders were united in their criticism of the anti-Chen campaigners who interrupted the National Day celebrations. Chairman of the Ceremony Organizing Committee, Wang Jinping, said that their behavior was a blemish on the national holiday.
President Chen did his best to ignore noises made by opposition legislators at the National Day celebration ceremony. Our honourable guests are receiving a first-hand glimpse of the diversity of Taiwan's democracy and the youthful passion of the people of Taiwan, said Chen. Despite the president not offering direct criticism, Premier Su Jin-chang and DPP Chairman Yeo Si-kun were united in slamming what they saw as inappropriate behaviour. Some of the foreign guests had people beating on the vehicles when they were leaving, said Su. Even my car was hit. The violent behaviour of the opposition parties and the Red campaigners brings shame on Taiwan, said Yeo. It made the Republic of China's National Day celebrations look like a farce. Chairman of the National Day Ceremony Organizing Committee, Wang Jinping, was also not happy. Of course it was the wrong place to do this, and we also think this was a blemish on the day, said Legislative Speaker Wang Jinping. Despite the events happening in areas where the Taipei city government is responsible for keeping the peace, Taipei Mayor Ma Ying-jeou insisted he was helpless. The total number of police officers is several thousand, and the number of protesters was several 100,000. How do you control them? You have to be realistic about the situation, said Ma. The protesters' strength of numbers, combined with the lack of willingness of local government leadership to deal with them, made it a difficult day for the ordinary citizens of the nation's capital on